All right, so it's now been confirmed that the Omicron variant is present in at least 60 countries. In the United Kingdom, response plans to deal with the highly infectious variant of COVID-19 are well underway. Still no word, though, on lifting the red list ban for South Africa and our neighbours, despite clear indications that this variant really is everywhere now. Let's chat to our London correspondent, Olly Barratt. Hello, Olly. So how many Omicron cases are there in England, or in Britain rather? What are the plans, and any suggestion about our red list status?
The latest on Omicron confirmed cases is we've had a couple of hundred more in the UK over the last 24-hour period. That takes the total up over 800 now, but officials are admitting that the reality is that there are probably thousands of cases already of the Omicron variant in this country, and they accept that it is very much spreading in the community in all regions of the United Kingdom now. In terms of what to do about it, the government's enacted its so-called Plan B measures. That's a slight toughening of where we were before, with effectively a fully open economy. So that's more mask mandates in more indoor settings. That's guidance as of next Monday for people to work from home if they possibly can. That hasn't been in place for months. And also vaccine passes for people to gain access to big events, big crowded events. That's not just vaccinations, though. You can show on your digital pass either proof of vaccination or proof of a negative test. In terms of the red list, we have had a couple of hints over the last 24 hours from both the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary that this might be changing soon. We knew that the government said it was going to review the red list and the countries that have been put on it after about 3 weeks. Well, that would take us to around about the end of next week. But Boris Johnson's been saying we will be looking at the red list and the way we do it. He says it's been very important in the immediate response to slow the arrival of the variant in this country. But as we were just discussing the figures for Omicron, it's very much here now. So the UK may feel it's been able to slow the arrival of Omicron, but it's now spreading very quickly. Sajid Javid, the Health Secretary, saying very soon, in the days and weeks that lie ahead, if we see many more infections and this variant becomes the dominant variant, there will be less need to have any kind of travel restrictions at all. So what I can't do is put a timeline on this, but we are starting to hear ministers and the Prime Minister himself talking about the very real possibility that we're getting to the point now that there's so much Omicron spreading in the country already that red listing countries becomes irrelevant. So South Africa will certainly want to keep an eye on that, the spread of the variant here in the UK.
I mean, if we are lifted, you said a decision might, as you said, it's very unclear, might be made by the end of next week. Probably a bit late for anyone with holiday plans, but still certainly something to keep an eye on and potentially hopeful news. Olly, it's interesting. Britain's got a really high vaccine coverage, but this issue of vaccine mandates, it's nevertheless still quite a hot potato.
Absolutely. Overnight, Boris Johnson really set the hairs running on this, because he talked about how you do have a problem, even if you have over 80% of your population over the age of 12 having had at least one dose, possibly two. We've now got 20 million people who've had 3 vaccines in this country, or a booster dose alongside their initial course. But he says even if there is that stubborn minority that doesn't want to take the jab, then when new variants appear and the virus spreads at different times of year, you're going to still run into some problems with small amounts of people having to be hospitalised and people potentially dying as well. And he talked about needing to have a national conversation about that. That was interpreted by almost everyone as Boris Johnson saying vaccine mandates might be coming round the corner. Well, many MPs in his own party were absolutely furious about the idea. Today, the Health Secretary has clarified that he doesn't think vaccine mandates are ethical or practical, and indeed Number 10 Downing Street has had to come out and say, look, Boris Johnson didn't mean a national conversation about vaccine mandates. What he meant was we're going to have to come up with other solutions so that that core of unvaccinated people doesn't mean the rest of the country has to go into lockdown or social distancing measures every time a new variant pops up.
And meanwhile, Boris Johnson and Downing Street embroiled in quite a scandal, and this is about a leaked video from December 2020, with staff members sort of joking about Christmas parties. Tell me exactly what happened and just how damaging this might be for Boris Johnson.
Yeah, this all started about a week ago with reports in the British newspapers that there may have been events that you might describe as parties in Downing Street, attended by government staff in November and December of last year. Now, if they happened in the way that the newspaper reporting says they happened, then those would have been parties, and that would have been very much against the lockdown rules that the government was telling the rest of the country to follow at that point. The government denied it, says there were no parties, nothing broke the rules, and then this video emerged of a rehearsal of a press conference in Downing Street in December of last year, in which the staff there appeared to be referencing exactly the type of party that had been reported in the newspapers, and they were laughing about it. Boris Johnson said he was furious about the video and apologised. His former spokesperson, who was in the video, resigned her position in government, also apologised. But the government continues to insist that no parties took place. The Labour Party opposition here in the UK say that Boris Johnson might be misleading the public. Crucially, they say if he's been misleading MPs in the House of Commons about all of this, then he may have to resign. We are not there yet, but it's a very serious issue indeed for the Prime Minister and those close to him.
Of course, I'm going to save the best news for last. And news of a new baby, always great news. Boris and Carrie, their second baby. No paternity leave for the Prime Minister, though.
Well, he had another baby during the peak of the pandemic, Wilfred, in April 2020. And at that point, he said he would take no paternity leave because he really was dealing with the eye of the storm. So this time around, the questions were asked again. Will you be, now that your daughter's been born, happy and healthy, we're told by Downing Street, will you be taking paternity leave this time around? The answer's been fudged a little bit. We're told that there won't be an extended period of paternity leave, but he will try and spend a bit more time with his family over the coming days. But we're told, for example, that he will be up at Prime Minister's questions in the House of Commons next week on Wednesday. So he's certainly not stepping back from his working life completely.
All right, thank you very much. Our London correspondent, Olly Barratt.